Okay, so we're on inside the packet number 4. Everybody got their packets out. You guys are awesome. Thank you, thank you. So the notation for the first term of a sequence, we talked about this T notation. If it's the first term, then we would want a 1 in the parentheses. So T1 is the term for the first, is the notation for the first term. T1 is the notation for the first term. So what's the 7th term going to be? T7. What's the 6,541st term of a sequence? T 6,541. What's the 0th term of a sequence? We call that T0. And then when we write an equation, we write an equation for the nth term of the sequence. When we write an equation, we always write it as Tn. So let's practice using this notation. So we've got 3 sequences here. This one I'm giving you as a table, these 2 as a list. Well, this one is a list, this one is an equation. All right, so this is our table. So when it says T1, then they're asking you to find the first term of the sequence. What is the first term of the sequence? Look at your table up here and tell me what's the first term. 18 is the first term, right? So T1 is 18. And what's T2? T2 would be the second term, and it's 16. Now the next one's a little tricky. I'm asking you for T5, and T5 is not in our table. It would be the next one, but we don't have an actual value. It's 10. How'd you get 10? Good for you. So you're finding the sequence generator. That pattern is -2 each time. So if I continue doing that, we're going to get 10. So the 5th term would be 10. It's not on the table, but it would be 10. The 0th term is also not listed. What is the 0th term? 20? 20? Because we'd back it up and we go +2 to back it up. And 18 plus 2 is 20. Now, I didn't ask you to do this, but we've got space down here, so we're going to practice anyways. Tn equals, let's write an equation for this thing. It's something and something. What's going to go in this spot attached to the n? -2. So the thing that's attached to the n is the thing that you're adding or subtracting. That's our common difference. So -2 goes there. And what goes at the end? +20. The 0th term goes at the end, so +20. Anybody notice anything interesting? The third one and the first one have the same answers? How do you know they're going to have the same answers? They have the same equation. That is the equation that is the third one, isn't it? So it should have the same answers. Awesome. Okay, so go ahead and copy those same answers into here because it's the same equation. All right, I want you to, on your own, go ahead and do the middle one. Keep in mind, I'm giving you the first, second, third, 4th term. You're going to need to find a pattern here so that you can figure out what the 5th term is and also figure out what the 0th term is. See what you can do with that. We'll check answers together here in a second. What's my pattern for this one? +5. So I'll go 12 plus 5 to get the 5th term. That would be 17. And then -5 to go back to the 0th term. The 0th term, you should have gotten -8. All right, we're going to stop there for right now. Was anybody absent last class? We took some really important notes last class. Oh, I need a passer outer. Someone help me pass out papers. You have some last class. We'll get you the notes here in a second. Do you want to pass papers out? Are you willing to pass papers out? You don't want to pass papers out? You get that side of the room for me. Thank you. All right, we're going to go over, this is going to be part of your assignment. This is the handout part of the assignment that we scratched off from yesterday. This will be part of the homework, yes. But you're going to get this done in class. You're going to have the entire, I'm going to talk to you here. We'll work together for like 5 more minutes and then you'll have the rest of the period. My guess is many of you are going to walk out of here with no homework over break. All right, thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. Okay. So I want to review what we talked about yesterday. It might be handy to have these notes on arithmetic and geometric sequences out. That's just on the next page of your packet. But let's talk to the first one. Now, this first section, do you see that in the title this says arithmetic sequences? That means they are all arithmetic sequences. Our goal is going to be to write equations. I want to actually start with number 4. We're going to do number 4 together. So if we're going to write an equation, we need 2 things. We need to know what's our common difference. So what are we adding or subtracting each time? We also need to know the 0th term. So start by figuring out what is the pattern for number 4. What am I adding or subtracting to go to the next one? Are we adding or subtracting? Let me get your attention, guys. Baker, come on, pay attention. Adding or subtracting, we're adding 5. So if we wanted to, we could find out some more terms. We don't need to do that. We're trying to write an equation, and I know now that 5 is going to be in my equation someplace. The other thing that we need for our equation is the 0th term. So if we went back to find the 0th term, instead of doing plus 5, what are we going to do instead? We'll do minus 5 instead. So I'm going -1 minus 5, and that gets me to -6. So -6 is my 0th term. So I have all the information I need to write my equation now. We're going to be using this -6. We're going to be using these plus 5s. Let's write our equation. Format looks like this. T of n equals something n something. All we have to worry about doing now is getting that 5 and the -6 in the right place. Which is the one attached to the n? Is it the common difference or is it the 0th term? It's the plus 5, the common difference, correct? And the 0th term would go at the end. It's -6, so we'll go -6. If that had been a positive 6, we would need a plus in there. And that's it, we got one done. Any questions on number 4? I want to review with you guys how to do geometric sequences. We just learned this at the end of class on Tuesday. Let's look at number 10. Can I get you guys to focus with me on number 10? Now you might want a calculator for this part. I'm going to go ahead and get mine out. So just like before, we need those same 2 numbers. We need to figure out what's the pattern, and we need to find the 0th term. So I'm going to need a 0th term, but I also need to figure out what am I doing to get to the next thing. Now this is a geometric sequence, which means I should be multiplying by something. Now, if you're not sure, there's a really easy way to figure out what you're multiplying by. Pick any 2 numbers in your sequence that are back to back. Do the second number divided by the first number. and that'll tell you what you're multiplying by. So somebody with a calculator, do 2000 divided by 400. What do you get? 5. So we must be doing times 5. So I'm making myself a little thought bubble here. This is how I got this 5. So you can always find what you're multiplying by picking 2 consecutive terms. Consecutive means back to back. 2 back-to-back terms. Always divide the second one divided by the first one though. All right, so we're doing times 5 to go forward. So what are we going to do to go backwards? If we're doing times 5 to go forwards, what's the opposite of multiplying by 5? We'll divide by 5. 80 divided by 5 is 16. Can someone confirm that for me? 80 divided by 5, 16. Okay. All right, we have all the pieces we need. We're going to use this 5 and we're going to use this 16 to write our equation. But these equations look different because they're geometric equations. These equations are going to look like this. We're going to have something times something in parentheses to the n power. One of those blanks is going to be 5 and one of them is going to be 16. And here's how I remember. An n power means you're at an exponent, right? Exponent means you're multiplying by the same thing over and over again. If we were going to continue making this sequence, what's the thing we would be multiplying by over and over and over again? 5. So the 5 goes with the exponent because that's the thing that's getting multiplied over and over and over again. The 0th term or the starting value actually goes in the front for geometric terms or geometric sequences. So your job today in class is to finish this up. You're going to be able to do this pretty quickly. If you weren't here yesterday, I'll get you some notes and go over a couple more with you. Once you've done a few of these, you're going to go really quick. Could you guys flip over on the back for me, please? What's different when we get to the back side? They're mixed up. You have to decide whether it's arithmetic or geometric. So you're going to have to figure out, am I adding something each time or am I multiplying by something each time? Could I get you guys to look at 14 really quickly? I want to give you a hint on this because I know we're going to have questions on this one. Does this look like we're adding or subtracting something each time? 800, 250, 12.5, 3.125. So a lot of you are going to say it looks like we're dividing by something, but we can't divide. We have to multiply by something. Okay. So figure out what you're dividing by. What would you divide 800 by to get 200? That's divide by what? 8 divided by what is 2? 8 divided by 4 is 2, isn't it? So we could do this by dividing by 4. 200 divided by 4 is 50. 50 divided by 4 is 12.5. The pattern is divide by 4. However, when you write your equation, you can't use a 4 because that's division. We need a multiplier. So check it out. Dividing by 4 is the same as multiplying times 1/4. Okay. So if you ever do come across one where you're like, oh, it looks like I'm dividing by something, you're not going to use the thing you're dividing by. When we write this equation and we write the thing in the parentheses, it's going to be 1/4. Because that's what I'm doing in this. That's the pattern here, times 1/4. Yes, it's division by 4, but that's the same as multiplying by 1/4. So if you ever find division, turn it into multiplication by taking that number and putting it underneath a 1. Okay, it's the reciprocal of that number. All right, I got answers posted up on the board over here. So when you finish that up, go ahead and check it. And then I'd like you to hang on to this until after spring break. Our final assignment for before spring break, and this will be due the day we get back, is going to be these problems from the book as well as the handout. You got the rest of the period to do this. Folks, you're probably going to finish that handout within about 20 minutes. Okay, and then you're going to have plenty of time to get started on the book work. There's books in the back if you need them. get my attention if you need any help on any of this, and I'd be happy to sit down with you and work with you. All right, get after it.